Welcome in. I'm DJ Skee. We are doing our special Project 2020 interview series with Topps, where we bring in the illest artists that have been working on all these collaboration cards that you see and talk to them. Plus, we've got giveaways galore. We have over 20 giveaways tonight. We're not only giving away cards, but we're going to give away a special limited edition high quality numbered out of 99 print. And the man that you guys see sitting right next to me is none other than JK5, straight out in BK right now, who's been doing these ridiculous cards in the series. So what's up, JK? How are you, sir?
What's up, man? Thank you so much for having me.
Man, it's so great to have you. So for people that don't know, the whole sports card scene has been going crazy recently. Topps launched a brand new project where they took iconic baseball cards, everything from King Griffey Jr. and legends like Derek Jeter to Willie Mays, and as well as modern players like Mike Trout, and brought together some of the best artists in the world to reimagine them. So you take a Mike Trout card that looks normal and then you flip it and make it look like that, which is just insane. And this is a product of your design. So first off, welcome in. We're so grateful to have you here and excited for a lot of the giveaways. We're going to do the first giveaway here in the Twitch chat in a second. So let me know if anybody in there wants one of these cards. We'll see who we can hook up with. Santa Ski is going to be nice to you for the holiday season. But JK5, let's talk about kind of how you got involved in this series. We'll dive a little deeper into your background in a second, but what was that phone call like, and how did this whole project kind of come together?
Well, a friend got me involved, and I actually have some history with Topps. I worked on an artist series project with them in 2008, where I just kind of chose a piece of mine that was then formatted to a card, and then they sort of correlated the stats with my bio on the back, and it was a dope idea. And then I did a series of 200 die-cut Stormtrooper and Vader head Topps cards where it was like a photo print of Vader and a Stormtrooper on one side and the other side was blank. And I was like, I'll do 100. Why not? Of each. And that's what I did. So I think I was in their consciousness, maybe on their radar, but I was stoked to get this call for sure, man.
It's amazing. It's got to be so fun, and touching these iconic cards is so incredible, right? And you've got a long love affair with baseball, man. When did you first get into the sport?
I started playing ball when I was a really little kid with my uncle and my father. My dad actually played AAA ball for the Yankees in 1957 and 58. And I was raised about 20 minutes north of the Bronx in the 70s. So we went to maybe 13, 15 games a season. And those players were like gods to me, man. It was like Mount Olympus, but you just smelled the weed and stepped on everything all kind of weird and sticky. Yeah. And I saw my first fight break out there when I was a kid. And Yankee Stadium was a heavy, kind of scary, wild place. Really just kind of epic. And I played in Little League with my uncle and my father as the coach, actually, and was really into baseball until I was about 13. And sort of to parallel that on a sports level, I got really into basketball. That kind of took over in high school. Was always just a drawing nerd and just kind of a fiend for, creating and making art. But the baseball sort of faded away when I was 12 or so. But it's always been a big part of the sports fabric and kind of soul of my family. Just being raised right outside of the Bronx, and my father, my uncle, my family are just huge Yankee fans, so I had a deep appreciation for the sport, man.
It's so dope. Did you think when you were growing up as a kid, going to Yankee Stadium, watching these icons, and some of these guys you've done cards for since then? Did you ever think that you'd be like flipping some of these iconic cards? That probably was never in your brain before, right?
No, but once the seed got planted, I'm like, oh, that's a really dope synthesis. What an amazing concept to cross-pollinate these worlds and these cultures. Because to me, there's just complete correlation between artists and athletes and high performance human beings, and sort of drawing those parallels and kind of really recognizing that and just thinking it was a really special kind of dual market, synthesize the demographics, the audiences, the population, the populations, and yeah, it was a no-brainer. I was really stoked about the idea,
It's been so
and it's
cool,
been
man.
quite a ride. It's a whole year. The project duration itself is really unique.
Yeah, and your designs are so intricate because you have so many levels and so many details, as we see by the cards themselves. How long does it take you on average to do one of these cards?
Oh, thank you for the kind words, man. I would clock them anywhere from 30 to 80 hours each.
That's
They all start from
that's a
scratch, something
long
from
time.
nothing, pencil to paper, and then they just kind of develop topographically on the same surface. I do everything physically and manually by hand. Just kind of always been really analog like that. And yeah, I would say the most involved, about 80 hours, and the least amount of time, 20 to 30.
Wow, I mean, that's like a full-time job for a week for somebody designing a card. So this whole year, the whole pandemic for you is going to be, it's actually probably good that you got this project this year because you were able to just lock yourself in and do nothing
It
with these
was the
cards.
craziest, most antithetical or ironic, bizarre gift of an alignment, man. The timing, the project started right when quarantine and lockdown started. So, um, it gave me real focus and real structure and a real full time job to just stay home and draw and create.
Yeah, man.
Within the parameters of this project and these themes um, and yeah, I think the conflation of factors that has made it such a wild rocket ride of a success had a lot to do with what we all couldn't do. No live
Yeah.
events, music, no live sports. These cards are bringing all these collectors joy. They're getting introduced to different aesthetics, different styles, different artists across a whole kind of spectrum of styles and disciplines. And yeah, man, pretty wild year, like a really bright spot in an otherwise abysmal, really dark, really perplexing chapter of our human history.
For many reasons, right? Like what an insane year. But I think this has been
Yeah.
something great to focus on. I mean, cards for me, and I think for a lot of others, it's provided a refuge for it. And one of my favorite
Yeah.
things is this Project 2020 series, just because I'm a huge fan of art in general. I'm a huge fan of these cards, and it's so cool. These are
Awesome.
really like collectible art pieces. You don't even have to be into baseball cards to get into that. And that's why I love the prints, and those prints are available now at Topps.com. If you go to Project 2020 in that series, you'll be able to purchase some of the big high-end versions from artists like JK5 for $399 they're priced at, which is a steal when you consider the fact that they're only 99 but or that there's only 99 created of these. So truly
Yeah, they're beautiful, man. Really high quality.
and the quality when you see them in person is so dope. And we've talked about this in the past that it's not easy to do a print oftentimes, right? To make it look right. And especially
Mhm.
from you as an artist, like you're the biggest critic. So you're looking at every line in detail and what others might not even notice, but everybody's been really walked away really impressed from that.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. It's an awesome program.
It's,
And that's
it's,
going to be ongoing after the project ends, which is the 23rd.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think we're almost at the end of that.
I
I want to
know.
take a second and
I know.
shout out everybody that's rocking with us in the chat. We've got it cracking right now on Twitch and on YouTube. Shout out to Zach Stone on YouTube. He's a big JK5 fan. Zach on YouTube. We're going to hook you up with our first giveaway of the night. Over here on Twitch, we've got T-Bone saying there was nothing like the Bronx Zoo in the 70s.
Word up. It's true.
What's your
It's,
craziest?
it
What's your
was called
craziest
the Bronx.
story? What's your craziest story in going to a baseball game at Yankee Stadium in the '70s? Something that you saw.
Man, that's a really good question. I told you I smelled my first weed and just saw fights break out all the time. It was gnarly.
And who was
You know,
fighting? Was it Yankees fans amongst Yankees fans, or was it Yankees fans amongst other teams' fans, or was it just all out chaos?
I mean, at times it was all out chaos. It was like sometimes, it'd be right behind you and they wouldn't like a call and they're drinking their beer and, they just start scrapping. And then if you were there during a Red Sox game, it was insane. You could just feel this surging,
I bet.
like seething energy,
Hey,
hatred, and like just opposing sides, and it was nuts.
there's
Yeah, and
nothing
I was
like a
little.
Yankees
I was
Red
like a
Sox
little
game.
skinny, scrawny kid in Yankee Stadium, so
That-
Uh,
that's insane. Nothing
Lots of
like it.
stories though, like going down and getting balls or bats signed by the players because my pops handled their insurance or he knew them
Was
when
there
he
any
was.
player that was really cool?
What's that?
Was there any player that was really cool that stood out that you have a really fond memory of?
That's a good question. My team was the 77 to maybe 79 or 80s Yankees, and I can, recite that roster verbatim. Bucky Dent, I remember, kind of cracked a joke, and he was cool, and it was amazing to just kind of be next to him when I was, 8 years old on bat day, and you like the thick black under the eyes, and they're just like god size, in relation to you as a kid. And I mean, they were receptive and cool. I mean, they're just stars, and there's kids everywhere. Can you sign my ball? Sign my bat? Here's my mitt. Here's a poster. But yeah, man. I mean, uh, there's a lot I could say about my memories of Yankee Stadium. I love that place. I really did.
Amazing, man. Somebody in here in the chat just said, where was it? I just saw something. They were talking about Bat Day and how it was a bad, yeah, T-Bone NYC wants to say it was a bad idea in the 70s when they gave away full-size bats, right?
Here's a weapon. Here's a like a hard object as something you could take out of the stadium in 1970 in the 1970s. Yeah, man. I remember I got a Thurman Munson bat. I was really stoked about that.
Amazing.
It
That's
was
great.
like a lighter, softer colored pine, right? And I remember this navy blue ring around the handle and Thurman Munson's name, Louisville Slugger. I just remember the graphics. I remember what they look like. And I had them. And then you get the little mini souvenir bat and hot dogs and pretzels and beer here. Who remembers
Amazing.
that?
It's amazing. It's amazing, man. We're gonna do the first giveaways in Twitch right now. First one I'm gonna drop for OMRS2491, who I just shouted out in the chat since he dropped my my ski emote. So you're on it early. I'm just gonna give that for a nice one. We're gonna take it back. One of the early comments, OMRS actually said your lettering is phenomenal, and he's been commenting your stuff. Let's take it to. Let's see, Ever Never 17, who says he's a big fan of yours, JK5. So we're gonna hook you up. Yeah, we're gonna hook you up with the next card, which we'll talk about in a second. Don't worry, we got a ton of other giveaways. We're gonna ask some questions for the next couple ones. Shout out to everybody that's in here too, live in the stream with us across multiple platforms. Zach Stone, Moody over on YouTube, T-Bone, Flower Gamer, Carlos Jr., Desert Dog, Baseball Life, Carter 311, Jizza 73. We appreciate you guys. If you guys have questions for JK5, get them in. I want to talk to him about the design process on these cards because one really cool thing is I've noticed, there's the cards generally have to be more or seem to be more a little black and white with splashes of color that make them stand out. And that's one thing that really stood out to me. One of my favorite cards in the series, I actually probably bought as many of these cards as any of the other ones. I held it up earlier. Is this is the Trout with the laser eyes or something, just so like the Terminator Trout. It looked so phenomenal, so much so that I was trying to get the AP. I didn't end up getting it. So I got all these.
So much for your support, sir.
So yeah, that's a great thing. So when you buy these, if you're just tuning in for Project 2020, they have limited editions of the gold ones. There's a 1-of-1 gold in there as well as some artist prints. So when you buy the regular card, you can try to win one of those other ones. So that's what I was trying to do. I didn't win it, but such an incredible card. So let's talk about your style, and specifically, we can talk about this Trout card just because it really stood out to me. It was one of my favorite Trouts in the entire series.
Thank you very much, man. Well, to speak to the Trout card specifically, my approach to the cards was to render them and honor exactly what was there. The iconography, the signature, logos, mascots, the figurative aspect, the portrait aspect, just really render the card, right? Mm-hmm. And then I would overlay a dimension of sort of imaginative response and reaction to personal aspects about the player or aspects of their stats or a story that they had that really stood out to me. And in Mike Trout's case, I just wanted to make him look really powerful. I wanted to render it realistically, but give it this real stylized kind of graphic quality. I think that was the first card I was using much finer point microns to get all that cross hatching and all that sort of tonal detail. and the tone turned into patterns, and I really started to get interested in speed and velocity and movement and depicting that. And I'm a huge comic nerd. That's a shout out and an homage to Cyclops from the X-Men. If you look, so as a part of the overlay, I'm taking the existing iconography or the logos that I've always loved in sports in general and in the world, right? Yeah. Advertising perversions, tweaking everything that you're surrounded by that's existing that you can personalize, logo jamming, they call it, right? Mashups. But I was doing that shit like 30 years before it had a term. That's just how my brain worked. Yeah. Truly. And, so I took his initials and the Angels logo and just kind of created these graphic morphing iterations in the background that are kind of subtly encrypted. So there's just a lot to discover and a lot of subliminal information in the work, because it's important to me that I'm creating a really engaging and interactive, exciting, unique journey of seeing and really looking and finding things, hiding things,
That's what I'm trying to look for. I'm trying to look for all the hidden stuff. It's incredible, the level of details on these things.
Thank you, man. What's ill is I did the first 3 at 7x10, and I started doing them in a sketchbook. Wow. And I just developed them, on one plane, on one piece of paper, and they were really small. And the first 3 were just kind of raw, and I was finding my styles and my systems and trying to incorporate enough detail. But I realized that 7x10, the cards are that much smaller, and you want vividity, you want clarity, you want high resolution, and they translate really well. They're really good quality prints, but I realized I had to go a lot bigger. And the bigger I went, the more sort of details within details, or sort of multiverses I could create within the larger details. You create all these new scale relationships the bigger you go. So Mike Trout was still pretty small, and then Roberto Clemente, I jumped to 9.5x11, and then Mariano Rivera was my 4th card, and I had to just go off with all the different unique graffiti styles and really show my love of typography and what it was like in the Bronx at the time, but to really modernize it with my hand styles and letter forms. And I went even a little bit bigger. So the rest of the series, you live and learn at every turn, and I just started working at a larger scale, so I could just do that much more to them,
The Subway Mariano is one of my favorite Marianos in the series too, because that was I've talked with a lot of the artists, and everybody says that was the most difficult card just because of the pose. The way that you flipped it.
He's in chinos in a Yankees golf shirt. It's mad 90s.
No, it's
all blank. Like the palette's cool. It's a Bowman series, right? It's really pastel. And he's leaning against a column. Maybe just took a shower. He's on his way home to his family. Who knows? It's a funny image. But there's a lot to play with, and I think just symbolically and then physically, I just bombed the shit out of whatever blank space there was, and there was an actual wall and a column that I kind of did my best to take to a new level. And there's tons of subliminal encrypted information around the language of Mariano Rivera himself,
I mean, it's so ill when you look at. I mean, you could stare at these cards all day and still find new things in them, which is what's so cool about this. And this really makes you feel like
thank you so much.
You're back in the Bronx Zoo in the 70s, right? With like riding the subway to the game. So you can see that inspiration that from the realities of your real world that kind of carried over into this art, which is really dope to see. Especially when we've heard those stories.
New things.
It's amazing.
Things. Wait, that way. New things. Amazing, man. Your art is phenomenal. Let's talk about a little bit on your story as an artist and how you've made it in there now. You've done a ton of different things. You're into tattooing, design, illustration, graphic writing. Letter forms. How did you really how did you turn this into a career for yourself? Something that's obviously such a passion of yourself. What was your big break? I did my best to just keep cracking it open all along my whole life,
Yeah.
I started drawing when I could hold a crayon when I was 5 in 1975, and I never stopped. As for a big break, it was really just this chronological evolution. I think a real turning point was when I finally got my shit together after kind of failing out of my first college and then coming home and raising my cumulative average and getting my portfolio together and deciding that art school might be a really good idea. And I applied to a Rhode Island School of Design, RISD, in 91 and transferred there. Everything started really opening up. I got really into tattooing. I got a letter from my birth mother 23 years, 5 months, 19 days after my adoption at 5 days old, which made me whole. And it was just this, this whole new world of biological information and a real kind of gift to my life to kind of finally know where you actually come from biologically. That was really massive. And that, not to go off on that, not to belabor that story too much, but getting introduced to tattooing and getting that letter just happened to coincide my senior year in 94. So that was a real turning point personally, and starting to tattoo because I got so obsessed and so seduced by that culture and history and art form. And I knew immediately that I wanted to weave myself into that historical fabric and at the same time really cultivate my own distinct and unique visual languages and styles and approaches to art making that was always of paramount importance to me, So it just kind of was always unfolding as life just does. There wasn't really any. I mean, it's a great question. What was my big break?
It's a lot of little breaks.
Worked with a lot of really wonderful, interesting people across the spectrum of disciplines. A lot of cool collaborations and just homies, just friends, just people I tattooed. Things happen really organically. So, yeah, I mean, I moved to Brooklyn in 2003, and breaks just started becoming a natural thing that was happening just because I was tattooing 4 or 5 days a week, but then I'm going off in these sketchbooks and, doing series and bodies of work and getting involved in shows and starting to make toys because I'm just a geek for all these other kind of subcultural forms. And I always just wanted to do my thing with them. So anytime an opportunity would pop up, or I would just get some rad art director or some fashion person in the chair because they dug what I did as a tattoo artist, I'd be like, oh, I have all this content. Let me share this with you. I'd love to challenge my brain and apply myself in this way. And, all these sort of universes of content just kept forming and forming. And I'm just a spaz, man. I just have been drawing and writing at the speed of life itself since 1975. I'm 50.
Wow.
So
and it sounds like to me, and it's a story of a lot of things. It's not one moment. It's a lot of little things that collectively add up, and it's like a wave that ultimately just happens. And then all of a sudden you look up and it's all right there for you, right? After a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Yeah. It's like overnight. No, it's overnight in 50 years.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Everybody's like, "Oh, you have the best job. You get to do these things." I'm like, yeah. If we only show the highlights on social media, right? Like you don't show all the real hard work and effort behind the scenes.
It's all about work, right? Khalil Gibran said, "Love is work made visible." It's my favorite quote. It's a quote I chose for my first book that I published in '99, and there's no getting around incredibly hard work and dedication. And to another quote, Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption, geology is the study of pressure and time. And if you put enough pressure and you put enough time into what you're passionate about, things manifest, man. You're kind of watering your own garden all the time.
It's real. That's a great way to put it. We're going to take it to a couple of questions and a couple more giveaways. We'll start with people talking on YouTube. So Zach, who won a card earlier, wants to know, did any of the Project 2020 artists come to you for advice? That's a great question.
That is a great question. What up, Zach? Zach Attack. Advice, not so much advice, but just really good camaraderie and support. And we'd find each other through the DMs, through Instagram. And there was a lot of just vibes and conversation. And I knew a few people that were in the project. A couple I'd consider really close homies, and a few I just knew kind of peripherally in the world. Others I was really stoked to maybe meet and get to know more through this project. So on that human level, there was a lot of camaraderie, a lot of sharing going on, and that just kind of accumulated and accelerated through the project. Like once it started doing really well, we just hit each other up and be like, can you believe where this is going during a pandemic? Like,
It's crazy.
and you know, you're just, I made some really good friends during this project because of this project and inside this project. Yeah.
Super real. And great
And I
thing.
think we all started really informing and inspiring each other. And you can kind of see that effect in interesting, subtle ways as all of our cards started coming out. You know, we're keeping abreast of each other. So, yeah, man, that was happening.
That's real. Shy also wants to know, who's shouting out the sneaker collection. Appreciate that. He wants to know, have you had, do you have a favorite card that you've made?
The last one I just finished 2 hours ago. It's my favorite.
And which one is that? A couple people in the Twitch chat I saw already guessed it.
What did they guess? I'm not allowed to say.
They are
I'll self-destruct.
People guessed a player that used to play for the Orioles.
Good guess.
Good guess. We'll actually hook up the first person that talked about that. I got to go back to the chat and see what
it drops tomorrow, man. It goes live tomorrow, so
woo.
Hope y'all enjoy it. I had a blast.
And wait, so you just finished it and it goes live tomorrow?
Yes, I just showed you.
I saw it, and I didn't realize that it actually goes live tomorrow.
It does.
Talk about turnaround time and having the pressure on, right? Like, what's that like getting to
having the final say? It's last minute, man. Sometimes it's right down to the wire, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah, you're like, and we're already on the East Coast at 8:30, and they have to update the site because it goes live automatically. You're pushing it.
Yes, I'm on point with my deliveries. It's just shout out to my man Brandon and the art directors and the whole crew at Topps. They're overwhelmed and inundated just trying to stay on top of it. And Major League Baseball has the final say on all of our cards. And I've had experiences where I've had to make some changes last minute. And you have to think on your feet. You have to totally improv. And if I'm like 50 hours deep, I'm not using Procreate or Photoshop. I'm like, I have to change this. How do I change that? Oh, I have to really transmutate it into something and make it work on the same plane without destroying the rest of the piece that I'm 50 hours deep into and start over, you know.
I'm looking at the card right now. I've actually got a sneak peek of it in front of me that you've been so honored to bless. It's very colorful. What'd you say?
I asked you what your vibe was in response.
It's colorful, it's lively, and the face is exactly what I expected from you, following up some of the other characters that you've integrated in the series, from Trout to the Star Wars things, and I think people will probably be able to guess that. And it's interesting, he's not holding a bat, it doesn't look like.
Well, I guess I'm allowed to talk about this card. It's going live tomorrow.
Why not? It's going live tomorrow. We're not supposed to, but we don't give it all away yet. No, but you have so many elements. It's all going to be surprising.
Let me be as cryptic as the work and the references are sometimes as well. How about that?
It's very true.
This card, all the bats, metaphorically and symbolically, have been pencils, because to me, a bunt, a base hit, home run, that's the pencil. The lightsaber is a pencil. A sword is a pencil, right? A weapon, what you wield, what you train to master. This card has a very specific reference to a psychedelic 1970s Black Sabbath video because of his nickname. So the bat is a guitar neck.
That's exactly what I thought it was. I saw the picture.
And this card,
phenomenal.
It had to be an homage to my love of music, man, across the genre spectrum. It happens to be this super psychedelic, darker beginning of the term heavy metal. But for me, I really like just kind of mixing and sampling and blending and assimilating information. And because there's so many facets at one time, there's sort of a wholly distinct sort of just sort of style and system born of itself because I'm pulling from so many sources. So this one is Tony Sabbath Black Stark.
That's a
If you
great
will.
way. That's a great way to put it. And you know what else there's a
I'm
lot of
tired,
that I
man.
found that's really interesting. There's a lot of birds in here. It's psychedelic. We see a lot of the Orioles in here, even if it's just eyes, even if it's just different things. There's different variations of it. It's really, really cool.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Everything's in transition. Everything's just kind of, it's a floating, ethereal, spiritual, really wild, elemental world to me. And I cite sort of Japanese printmaking and the history of Japanese art and
Yeah.
Buddhist narratives and the term the floating world. But, that's just taking
So
the
well.
really dope, really distinct, kind of adorable, iconic Baltimore Orioles bird, the Oriole, right? That graphic, that cartoon. My uncle rocked that
Yeah.
hat in the 70s. I always loved it.
Yeah.
Um, and just deconstructing it, just kind of
So
breaking it down and pulling it apart and kind of, you know,
and
things around.
I love the font. I mean, we can move off it because nobody else can see it, so I feel like I've got exclusive
You
access.
recognize
But I
the
love
font?
the fonts and I love the signature that you have kind of hidden in there. It took me a second to stand out, even though it's right front and center. It's just
Dude, it's
really,
special
really
that you're just looking at it, even though people can't see it, and you're just sort of deciphering and taking it
like,
in right
yeah,
now. Do you
exactly.
recognize those fonts?
I
Any
hold on.
chance?
So
His
the
name and the Orioles. Do you recognize those fonts?
I don't. I knew the signature one. The Orioles one looks like a metal band, right?
It is the font from Ozzy Osbourne's
Okay, I knew it. Okay, I knew it was an artist. I couldn't tell which font, but
and
I knew what it was.
for Black.
Cal. So the Cal Ripken. I can't tell what that is. Oh, is it? Would it be? It wouldn't be comic, would it?
It's a font for the band Black Sabbath and the album Masters of Reality.
Ah,
Just
super real.
super
Oh,
dope.
I just noticed his ear. This is a crazy card. I'm gonna stop talking about it. We'll move on to another one. I don't want to make everybody else jealous.
Hopefully
Let's
we
see.
can kick it again, man, and people can actually see it.
It's super sick. They'll be able to see it first thing in the morning. Let's see, and that's what T-Bone's
Thank
saying. Like you look at his card 10 times and you see something new every time, right? Carlos Jr. Sorry for being a tease. ABC Soccer Go. You'll see it tomorrow. Yeah, people were already talking about your Griffey pencil early on.
Oh, word.
Just a 73 wanted to know who's your favorite player.
My favorite player now or my favorite player of all time?
He's not saying, but let's go with. I mean, you can give me a quick answer on both.
Or favorite player part of the series?
Whichever you want, whichever one you want to answer.
All right. Okay.
Let's do favorite one in the series. Favorite one in the series, since we're here for Topps 2020.
I have to say Jackie Robinson because of what he embodied for the world.
Yeah.
And the social rights movement and how important he was to the evolution of equality, and or at least a step towards the evolution of equality, and just the galaxy size contribution as a human being and a player. But I could say different things about different players. As a kid, I loved all the Yankees, man. I really loved Bucky Dent. I heard he wasn't the nicest guy, but I love Reggie Jackson. I was at one of the World Series games where he belted 3 home runs in a row.
Mr. October.
I'm really nostalgic about baseball. I haven't followed it much, but what I loved about the project was I did some homework and research and found out a little bit about each player, and then the ones that I knew that were certainly of my time in the 70s, 80s into the early 90s, or before that, those were really special because I kind of channeled my old school Italian father that raised me and his love for those players. So that's my answer. Sometimes I don't have one answer.
It's great. I mean, that's why I love baseball. It's so poetic. There's so many moments, so many memories, and so many great things with that. And kind of in that same vein, Baseball Card 24 or Baseball Life 24 is asking you, the Roberto Clemente, is there a reason you put more color in that artwork versus the other one? And similar to Jackie Robinson, Roberto was so crucial to opening the game up for what it's become today, and it's a predominantly a sport that's now dominated by Latin American players, and Roberto was the one that opened that door. So what was your reason for putting more color on that artwork?
Well, the first 3 before Roberto were black and white, and I thought a drop of the first 2 were black and white, then the Japanese rising sun on the Ichiro card was red because I love that Japanese aesthetic, really graphic black and white. touch of red, or just black, white, red, and then that translated into my love of that tattoo aesthetic as well. But Clemente played for the Pirates, and there was just a little yellow, so I put a little yellow and red in that one, and it just showed that, you know, the cards themselves are evolving. You know, I just got more and more into color in order. It just kind of flowed that way. So yeah, just a little red and yellow, because those were the colors on the card. Sometimes that's where I start, right? Like that's the catalyst, and then I kind of apply all my own theory and sort of symbolic concepts of color on top of the colors of the cards themselves. And then there's some departure and some that I'm really adhering to. But yeah, man, I just was like, okay, time for some color.
And then you started, you know, people are obviously commenting. People love the Star Wars characters that you've put in some of these cards, and there's a hidden one in the Clemente.
Yes. Well, it started with Ted Williams. Ted Williams was my first card, and there's an overlay of the Boba Fett visage.
Yeah.
Which in my mind is the sickest, most beautiful, elegant design for a face, a mask, a helmet, a visage in cinematic history. And it's based on a medieval knight's helmet. And I kind of have been, you know, playing with that and really hiding it in a lot of different things that I've done the last 20, 30 years for a long time. So the faces started with that. And then, yeah, with Clemente, there was a portrait that I rendered in the foreground, and then a cool little smaller figure that was like cut and pasted on the card in the 60s, whenever it was. And yeah, he got an actual Boba Fett facial treatment, and then the pirate logo graphic became like a Slick Rick, Mr. T homage to early 80s hip hop, and just tons of gold chains and bling and Vader face.
Yeah, it's crazy. Such a ill card. A couple of people are asking, why'd you have to take that out when it became an artist print?
Oh man, that was such a bummer. Good question.
I'm assuming licensing and legalities and just potential issues, or
to keep with the nerding out on the Star Wars tip. Let's just say I did my best to avoid any imperial entanglements, meaning like risk-adverse, conservative corporate culture that have to be really careful with that intellectual property. And as much as I'm flying under the radar and I know it's safe, I understand they really have to protect themselves.
Yeah. So
when I did the card, honestly, it's kind of a crazy story. I did the card. That was like 70, 80 hours. I put so much time and energy into that card. There was a small enough ratio of Boba Fett and Vader in that whole card that I knew the percentage, legally, the ratio percentage was really safe. Last minute, it's going live the next day. I hear from Topps and they're like, you got to change the Star Wars stuff. Sorry, we love it, but you really can't do it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I just spent 70 hours on the card. It's going live tomorrow. Let's talk about this. And we had this really great dialogue. They were really cool, really understanding. And they're like, okay, we'll let it fly. But when they made the print, they couldn't take that risk again.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
Got lots of it. It did. It really made sense. It was logical, albeit heartbreaking and a big bummer. And I got a lot of feedback on YouTube. We're like, I love that shit that you did with Star Wars and Clemente. What happened? And I'm like, I either didn't produce that print, or with the help of some magic and some high-tech homies, I was able to modify it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Essentially, digitally erase those two little sections and redesign them.
It's amazing, and it makes the card's even that much more special now. It's funny.
Yes.
Star Wars, and Star Wars is just one of those iconic brands. When we launched Dash Radio, it was my goal was always to have a Star Wars station, and it finally came to life.
Awesome. Are you a big Star Wars fan, dude?
Yeah, we launched a pop-up for The Mandalorian that's live on Dash. So all you guys listening, after this interview, go put on Star Wars radio on Dash. I'm so excited because, as you know, it's such a tough. I mean, the studios are so protective of that license because so many people have tried to use it, and
Yeah,
rightfully so. They want to really protect that IP. So
for
you're
sure.
very limited with what you can do, even when you've done like official stuff, like it's a challenge,
Yeah.
maneuvering through those hurdles. But it was still special seeing it in those cards.
I love hearing you're a big Star Wars fan, dude. We have to vibe and nerd out
Yeah,
about
man,
this in the future. That's awesome. I think The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars material since
it's phenomenal.
the original
So good.
trilogy. I liked
It's so
Rogue
good.
One. I liked Force Awakens. But it's a much bigger conversation. I think it's brilliant. I think
Great.
the
And that was
last
actually
one
one of our
was
questions.
no
What is your favorite?
spoilers.
What people are asking what your favorite Star Wars are. So we're getting through all these questions without even answering, without even having
What are
to
my
answer.
favorite Star Wars
Um,
movies?
yeah, let's do Shy before
Okay,
answering
my
that
favorite
question.
Star Wars movies in order, and I'll only give you three: Empire Strikes Back, the original Star Wars, Return of the Jedi.
Ooh, good one. Good one. Shy, we're going to hook you up with a card on YouTube for answering that question. Let's go to Twitch. I want to give a couple more cards away. We still got a bunch to give away, and we still have the grand prize coming up. So get ready for that. And JK5, what I'm going to need to do for the grand prize is I want you to think of one element in one of your cards that a hardcore fan would know. And we will ask them, and the first person to get that question right will win the big print. So you don't have to think of it. You don't have to answer it right now, but I just want to get you ready in that moment and get all of you.
Okay,
Card
cool. I love that, man. Let me just peep my phone when the time comes.
No worries. We'll give it time. We're going to give a chance everybody to refresh, but we'll do a couple giveaways right now in Twitch. So let's see. We're just going to go randomly down this list. So let's see. We've already hooked up a couple of these people. Desert Dog, you're out here subscribing. We're going to hook you up since you asked about the Star Wars painting. ABC Soccer Girl did, and a couple others as well. So we'll hook up Desert Dog and ABC Soccer Girl. Let's continue on. BJ McGlynn, what up? You're new in here, so we're going to hook you up. Photoshop to save the day. Baby Yoda, Carlos Jr. 26.
Baby
And
Yoda now
there we
has
go.
a name. We're not going to give it away for those who haven't seen the best episode thus far. Did you see 5 and 6?
I have not yet.
Oh, see? Then I'm not going to spoil it for you, the man himself.
Yeah, I know I need to, right? So I need to jump into it. Let's see, and we'll hook up a couple more in a second and do some questions. So shout out to all of you guys. Make sure you are following us here on Dash Radio on our Twitch so we can all communicate. We will get those cards out to you of a future release. It'll likely be the Cal Ripken card. It might be another one because you still have one more after that. I want to talk about a couple cards specifically that I have in front of me. So let's take away, one of my favorite, players in the series, and I'm so glad to do it. And unfortunately, he passed away. If people have been following the series, I'm really big in the Bob Gibson card. So I love your.
It was really heavy, man. He passed away just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. And this one came out. This one came out before he passed away, right?
Yes.
And
just about a month before, 2 months before, maybe.
it was crazy. And I love the approach of it. And you have the piece, and I mean, there's a lot deeper meaning, I feel like, to this card. What is this card and all of the things in it? And I guess, I mean, you can even kind of point them out because you'll be able to remember. But I just see the peace signs flying. What is this? What is represented in the Bob Gibson card?
How vital equal rights and justice and equality really are in the world. Really drawing that card in Clinton Hill.
Whoops. We're cutting out for a second with JK5. We'll be right back as we get his connection
A block
back.
away, you could hear them.
There we go. There we go. You were cutting out, but we got you back now. So you said, "Yep, you're here now." You were talking about being in Brooklyn during social justice, the change and everything that we saw happen in our country.
Yes.
You can keep going.
In that card while there were processions of really angry citizens, so rightly so, for a world of reasons that created those protests all over the world, certainly all over the country and cities all over the world, with all the injustices, all the police brutality, all the abuses of power, the injustice. And I was doing like away from it was all going down in my community, and it was time to, in in a loving and benevolent enough way, I really wanted to speak to how politically conscious I try and be and how important equal rights and justice really are to me. And that piece, uh, I incorporated his parents' names, his kids' names. The cardinal logos were little cute red birds that had heart heads, and then I
Yeah.
turned the name cardinals into love being the cardinal rule, and that card was all about peace and love, and that iconography, that imagery, and how all I could do was really react to the energy of the times, like
Yeah,
the
man.
coronavirus, and the other virus and pandemic, being, all that was laid bare during this time. And I really wanted to speak to the current moment.
It's amazing. And that's what's so cool about the series too, is that through 2020, which has been one of the probably the most difficult year for most people it's going to experience in their lifetimes, and definitely us as a
Yeah,
society of this generation, right? Like these
right.
cards and the release dates really reflect things that were going on. You saw that. I mean, the Bob Gibson is obviously a perfect reference because this is in the aftermath of George Floyd, of the social justice outcry and
It
everything
was
else.
right around that time.
And so it's like you can look at those, and even going back to the beginning of the series, like you can see how the designs evolved into where they are today, and they're almost like timestamps is to 2020, especially in a year that's been so strange in the fact that it feels like it's still March to me, right? Like, and on one hand, and then I look upstairs and there's a Christmas tree, so these things can actually
Yeah.
like be memories, like, oh, I remember when that happened, and this is what else was going on. It was super cool.
Yeah, that's really nicely put, man. I mean, some of the cards are really reflective of the current moment and were really pertinent and in direct emotional reaction to the times in which we were creating them.
Yeah,
My
man.
man F Dot, who I got to know through this project, rad
Yeah,
guy, great style.
super
His
sick.
Dr. K, Dwight Gooden, shout out to F Dot, had a mask, and that was really
Yeah,
smart.
we talked about
And
it. It was so sick, and yeah, those things reflect that. I mean, we talked even earlier about Jackie Robinson and Clemente and other people that were like social justice warriors, and for what they did.
yeah,
Um, super cool, and everybody's really supporting this. Shout to Sam to the Cam on Twitch. We'll hook you up for saying togetherness and unity was the best message you've spread so far. So, and speaking for JK5, I'm assuming that we all couldn't agree more, and that's what all this is about. And that's what's so great about this art is bringing people, and this art brought different worlds from the sports worlds and the art worlds, and unity. It's something that's to connect us all, and that's what's so amazing about art, right?
absolutely.
That's why we love it. All right, I want to go through a couple other cards before we get out of here. This one was really cool to me, and I'm a Twins fan, so AL Central rivals with the White Sox. But I grabbed this Frank Thomas one just because I thought the colors and the styles and the design was so. I mean, all yours are so ill when you look at them. I mean, it's tough to just isolate that one. But what are some of the things in the Frank Thomas design?
I like that you cited that one, man. Let me see if I can remember exactly what I was doing. There was the runner that he was tagging out who was really amorphous and anonymous, and his uniform was really undefined.
Yeah.
So I wanted him. It was right around the time that MLB was going back in some form on TV,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So when I started taking notes, when I saw that card, um, I basically decided that there was this unique opportunity to tell a story about a relationship or a duality or a dynamic or sort of a moment of connectivity or engagement,
Yeah.
right? So the runner became the game itself, and Frank Thomas symbolized the fans and the love of the game, and the contact was people being able to watch baseball again.
Yeah, it's super ill, and you see the lettering of the fans in there, and somebody else just in the chat said how ill the fonts are on this. I love
Oh,
that
thank
that
you.
white.
So,
Yeah, what's the
so
what's the font you used for the White Sox?
what's that?
What's the White Sox font that you've used right up here?
That is
Is that
a subtly like
or what's the inspiration, I should say?
no. I'm using that voice because I was gonna say It's a font that I designed that started in 1999 with my love of Tibetan Sanskrit, and everything starting with this like really even top horizontal bar, and then it's kind of pulled down and then moving in the wind a bit to the left, and it's just kind of how my own letter forms evolved. And
So
um,
sick.
I love the Wu-Tang Clan. Shout out to Shaolin and
Oh yeah.
Nyland and um, the mighty Wu. So I wanted to. Uh, the Wu looks like it's certainly the W, right?
Yep.
But I didn't want it to be that obvious, so I kind of made the H the Wu logo, and
Yeah.
that was a cool.
It's sick.
But
Yeah, 'cause
the,
when I first
the
saw
letter
it,
form just
instantly what
like
stood out.
trying to just keep those really fresh and really distinct for the card series, so there's a cohesion and a uniformity to um, my own love of typography and what I've been doing with letter forms and keeping them, distinguished.
That's what's so fun when we look at your cards. Has there been one card that's been more challenging than other for you in this series in terms of creating? Anyone that you've had to spend the most time on, or had the most difficulty coming up with the creative concept that you were going to go?
That's a really good question because I don't have them in front of me right now. Let's see. Uh, there were some players and some aesthetics to a few of them that weren't really that exciting or event.
Whoops, I think we might have lost you, JK, for a second. Hold on. We'll wait 1 second. He's got such ill cards. I mean, just looking at the typography and the font. Shout out to everybody that's rocking with us. We do it like this every Tuesday and Thursday. It's the Topps Project 2020 Artist Series. I'm DJ Skee, and we sit down with all the artists behind this incredible series. Of course, the big prints, like you see one behind me, are available now on Topps.com. I think they're actually an incredible steal because they're numbered out of 99, so they're more limited than any cards and priced reasonably, especially for a high quality framed print. When we get JK5 back, we're going to do the grand prize giveaway of his, as well as ask about a couple other cards. But I want to ask you guys too in the chat, what have been your favorite cards in the series? And is there any favorite specifically with JK5 that you guys really like, and tell me why? And we can kind of have that conversation too while we wait for him to come back. I know, Carlos, you're talking about Big Mac. Let me know why you're liking these cards too, why you like the Big Mac. The Trout for me was my favorite. I mean, I literally ordered more of this card than anything else, just because the Cyclops was so ill, and the black and white with just the red stood out. People love the Griffey. Shout to Scars Official. We see you. It's your first time watching. Since it's your first time, we'll hook you up with a card. We appreciate you in here. We're getting hit. Don't worry, loyal watchers. We'll get you guys hooked up too, and you guys will likely probably be one of the first into the diehard fans for that print. Can't wait for the foil. Foil is going to be sick. Yeah, the JK5 Trout is phenomenal. The Rivera is incredible too. Over here, Zach saying the Willie Mays is the favorite in the set. Such a cool black and white. What would you guys like to see more of in Project 2020 if you guys could do it your way? And if Topps extended this project in this series in a similar manner, again, not doing it the same way because they'd have to switch it up, what players would you guys like to see included? That's a question I have for you guys. Baseball Life, yeah, the Roberto Clemente is so incredible because he's Latin and he paved the way. Jackie for the symbolism was incredible. BJ McGlynn. Uh, I agree, Desert Dog. The cards that JK5 releases keep getting better, and I love them all for different reasons. There's so many great different designs and artists involved in this series, but out of all, like, the amount of time just looking at these cards that JK5 has puts into all of them, the level of details, and he broke that down a little earlier when he talked about how long it took him to do this, is just phenomenal. Kirby Puckett, that's I love, of course, Kirby. Barry Bonds, Aros Arena, that'd be a good one, especially after his year this year. Fernando Valenzuela, got to get a Mexican player in there. Totally agree. Babe Ruth card. Was there a Topps Babe Ruth card when he was playing? Was Topps making cards? I actually don't know. I don't know if there was a Topps one. Let me know if I'm wrong in the chat. I don't think the Topps ones came out until the 50s, if I do believe. So Babe Ruth was not playing then. More foils. The foils are sick. Third Eye and Willie Mays is amazing. And there's so many cool things in this series. It's so fun to watch. Let's see what else you guys are talking about. Shout out to everybody for rocking with us in this chat too. We do I just launched a new podcast where we recap not only all of these episodes that if you missed the live stream of, you can go listen to, but we also do other interviews and different things. It's called the Skee Sports Card Show. We're uploading 2 per week right now. You can download them on just searching Skee Sports Cards at wherever you get your podcasts, or conversely, just go to cardhouse.net. That's where we have all of our content up. We also have a new video series that we're going to be posting some stuff up for. But if you're just getting into cards and want to learn more, or if you just want to hear insights and behind the scenes, we're trying to not only talk about the actual cards themselves and the valuations, which I think is covered pretty well from a lot of people, but get to the lifestyle side of things, which is super interesting. Project Star Wars, somebody said that would be ill, right? That would be crazy. Shout to Huai Huang, who says, I stay bumping. I apologize, I've mispronounced your name, but I appreciate you bumping Dash Radio during the skate sessions. We're going to hook you up with a card on here too, for rocking with us on Dash. Trev Tom says a Tatis Jr. Tony Gwynn 2020 would be sick. That would be really dope, right? Bob Gibson is some of my favorites too, and it was unfortunate that he passed away during this series, but super, super ill. Bo Jackson would be great too. Baseball Life 24, we appreciate you, man. Scars Official just followed on Instagram and pitch. Appreciate you guys. You can find me, if you didn't know, just at DJ Skee. We are on the Dash Radio Twitch. We actually might be making a new Twitch in the future, specifically for card discussions. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you give us a follow on Dash, because we have all the best music and entertainment. I mean, this week alone, we did a festival and have had everybody from Snoop Dogg, Deadmau5, Cascade performing live right here on this channel. I've done these VR sets, and now we're switching it up to talk about cards. So we've got a lot of variety and a lot of great things. So we appreciate all the subs and love. We're trying to have fun out there. One of my passions beyond music is sports, and I've gotten really deep into sports card collecting. We just think that there's so much opportunity. So we're excited to be here with you for that. Snow Sushi loves Sophia Style. She was sick. We had Sophia up here Tuesday. We're going to be putting that podcast up, but she is a phenomenal artist and just incredible. Shout out to Desert Dog. Tech9 is the man. OMRS, we see you. I love the ski emotes. You're definitely in here in the server. We appreciate you. T-Bone NYC talking about Dave Winfield. Dave Winfield actually went to my high school in Minnesota. We both went to St. Paul Central High School, and he's become a little bit of a friend. He's a legend, the first player to be drafted in all 3 pro sports, I believe. Just such an incredible athlete, and paved the way for so many others. All right, you guys are getting some good ones in there. David Ortiz, Pete Rose. Would you guys want a Pete Rose card, or is he kind of persona non grata? I don't know if the MLB would even approve that. It would be crazy. Mr. October, Dwayne, you're talking about Reggie Jackson. Or the man with the most rings, the little man with the most rings, Yogi Berra. Yogi would be great. Ozzie Smith. Shout out to Zeke. Of course, you'd say Ozzie Smith. He would be amazing. We're trying to get JK5 back. If not, we'll do this giveaway in a second where I'll ask a question. If we can't get him back, we appreciate you guys all rocking with us. Ivan Rodriguez, I forgot about Pudge. Like, so great. Shout out to Omar S for enjoying that. Whoops. Hold on. There we go. I'm going to try calling JK5 1 second. I'm going to put him on speakerphone to finish off this interview. He said it's totally frozen. Let me tell him to click that link. See, this is what happens when you go live. It never goes as planned always, but we make do of it. I appreciate you guys entertaining me in the chat. We're going to do this giveaway in a second. So if nothing else, we'll do it on there. What up, brother? Hey, can I FaceTime you?
You sure can.
I'm going to...
You froze and I'm still live. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened.
You're good. Try refreshing it right now. Try refreshing it. If not, I'll FaceTime you. See, this is how we work out problems. So just click on that link again, or just click on that link again and reopen it. Yeah, close your browser. Try closing the browser and then click on that link again and see if it works. We'll be back.
Okay, just close the browser and click on the link.
Yep, there we go. It closed up.
Join meeting.
Yep, and actually you should be able to join us back again. See, we're
meeting ID. What's the meeting ID or personal link name?
It should be that if you copy and paste that link in the email or in that message again, you should be able to just go straight to it. You shouldn't have to enter anything. That's right. We got the tech support going strong. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I can text it to you real quick.
Okay.
I'll text you the link right now, and if you can't click on it, I'll FaceTime you back, and we'll finish up the interview that way.
Okay, man. That's so strange.
Dude, no worries. We're all here. Everybody's still here waiting for you. We haven't gone nowhere. We still got to finish up. We're not going nowhere. So everybody's still waiting. We got the prize. So I'll shoot you the link right now. See, that's how we do. We got to do live tech support. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but like life, like this year, right? This year is the best example. You never know. You just got to make the most of it and keep it moving, right? So I'm going to try sending them the link so we can do this last giveaway. If you guys got any last questions, send them my way right now in there. Just a 73, you do it every day. You're a teacher. Carlos Jr. 73. That's right. Tech support. I do it all. See, we're doing VR sets. We're bringing in the biggest artists in the world. We're doing giveaways. We're doing tech support. We've got the cards. We've got it all. 2020, keep flexible. If there's one thing, anything that this year has taught us, it's been to adapt and adjust, and that's all we can do. So we're going to try to get JK5 on the chat right now. If it doesn't work, it's all good, and we'll just FaceTime him in to do the big giveaway. Don, that's right. We got to see how Don C, Bam Baller, Grotesque design their cars behind the scene. That would be sick to do a behind the scenes video, but maybe we do that in the future ones. The Bob Gibson one is sick. On who is that on YouTube that's talking about that? Dwayne. I love the Bob Gibson one. I love all of his. His are all super ill. Jeter print is fire, right? Yeah, that's I think behind me. What do I have? That's the King Solidine one. So we got lucky. I actually got JK5's Jeter too. That Jeter one is sick, right? Appreciate you liking the electric car video, Carter311. Yeah, that Porsche is so fast. Shout out to Porsche for bringing me out to Atlanta for that. All right, I'm just going to try calling JK5. Hold on. We'll try FaceTiming him. I'm going to hold the camera up. If you guys don't mind, we'll ride out. We're going to try to get all the artists on this show. We'll see. We probably won't be able to get everybody, but we're trying to get them all on here. So we will do the FaceTime right now so you guys can see. And we will get this big project wrapped up. Let's see. Do I got any other prints? I got a Mattingly Mr. Cartoon one, and I've got a few others that I've ordered that are coming in. So you guys got to see. I'm a big fan of these prints. I think they're incredible. Actually, I want to line up my whole office with them because I think it's a great way to display these sports cards. Yeah, the Fucci might not be easy to get, but yeah, there's some real popular ones in there. Hold on, let's see. We'll try one more time. Calling. And let's see. Yeah, the Jeter one is sick. Mark McGuire's a sick card. Please get Ermsey. We'd love to get Ermsey. We're going to try to get everybody up in here. Let's see. Don C, we would definitely get him on there. JK5, we want to know what it means. All right, we're going to put him on speaker to finish this up. So have no worries.
Yo, man, we can't quite figure out what to do.
No worries. It's all good. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do the giveaway. We got a couple more questions. You're on speaker right now. So we're going to just do it live in the chat with you on speaker if you're cool with it.
I'm totally cool with that. I don't know how that
I
happens.
love it, dude. It's no worries, bro. That's what happens when we're live. We're good. So we're getting a bunch of people asking. One question that keeps coming up is, where does the JK5 mean? What does the JK5 mean?
It started when I was a kid. My sister's name's Karen. My name is Joey, so it was always JK. And then it became a Star Wars thing, and it remains to this day and will always be Jedi Knight. And just create. And the 5 is the 5 senses, the 5 Buddhist elements, nickel bag, gimme 5, dap, acknowledgement, respect, the 5th dimension being the spiritual one, all 5 fingers on one hand, creating. That's all of it.
That's ill, man. That's ill. Now, I wanted to ask you about one other card, too, because we're talking about, I know you're a Yankees fan. That's your squad. I got the Jeter I'm holding up in front of me and showing off to everybody. It was super ill, too, because you had a lot of white space in this, because you had the whole diamond in there and another ill font. And then you had the red belt around him, right? Yep. It's crazy. It's crazy. Let's talk about the process for the Jeter.
It's cool, baby. I'm on speaker. We're working it out. Thanks so much. My girl came up to try and help me.
Oh, no. Tell her thank you. Tell her thank you.
Oh, he said thank you, baby. She said she tried. Okay, great question, man. I love that card. As soon as I saw that card, man, his body position was that of an archer. So I went with that. and I worked really hard trying to blend him throwing and, just that rendered position, frozen, which is kind of a weird position. You can't even see his other arm, right? You just see his hand holding the ball and his arms outstretched. I worked really hard to get that right. And then I'm like, word, medieval, fantasy, Lord of the Rings. He's Elvish. It's my Tolkien Elvish meets East LA script meets Tibetan Sanskrit, graffiti style. 1392 draft pick instead of the 1992 draft pick, which it says on the card. So I just kind of took it to that level. And then there's my own version of Tolkien Elvis script, but it's Englishified, and it says Derek Jeter, Yankees, JK5, Topps Project 2020. That's all sort of, that's Tolkien Elvish, structure, visual structure, just kind of writing in that fine line. And yeah, man, he just became the archer. He became the archer, and aspiring to hitting the bullseye with his arrows, right? Like, as artists, our implements of choice are our arrows, and we make them ourselves, or we have the ones that we choose to really wield and use and get good at. And I love all those parallels. So there's that sort of correlation between being an artist of any kind and being an athlete throughout the cards. And in a pop cultural way, some of the cards were conducive to taking it in a more wild, referential, associative direction than others.
Absolutely. Now, it is almost time to do this big giveaway. So I need you to, JK5, I need you to think of a trivia question related to Project 2020 that your fans would know. And what we're going to do is, I want everybody that's watching this related to your cards. It could be like a hidden symbol, meaning like you could say like, hey, what was Derek Jeter, like what, I don't know. We could talk about, angle, which angle is he holding bow and arrow, anything that you guys are thinking, like thinking something cool that's kind of hidden and intricate that somebody would kind of need to know this series ideally. So we can try to get it through a true fan, but it's also open to guessing. We want it open to everybody. What I want everybody to do in the meantime, while JK5 is thinking of that, is refresh your stream. Sometimes as you watch it, especially if you're watching it a while, it will lag a little bit. So refresh if you're on Twitch or you're on YouTube. We're going to give it a minute. So we will not do the question yet. We want to give everybody an equal chance. What I'm going to do is take the first correct answer will win the signed print. So refresh your screens right now. We'll give you guys a second to be back. Again, the first correct answer, I'm monitoring both Twitch and YouTube. So the first one that I actually call out and see will get this. JK5, do you have a question in mind? Have you thought of anything?
I'm thinking, I'm looking at the ones I have here.
Or you know what, if you want to flip it too, you could ask something about the Cal Ripken Jr. card that we talked a little about earlier and kind of tease it, and we'll see who was paying attention.
Nice. Let's do that.
Let's do that. All right, we're going to see who's paying attention and ask a question about the Cal Ripken Jr. card. First up, I know we got disconnected, but that's the problem with the internet and 2020, right? Like nothing goes as planned, but we are still here. I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for taking the time and spending out. It's been such an honor. I wish we had even more time, but I have a feeling there's going to be more of these, and we're going to connect on many, many more things, including more than just sports cards. So I appreciate everybody live in the chat, everybody that streams and watching, and everybody that's listening to this later on the podcast. So it looks like everybody's got their stuff refreshed. I want you to type a 1 if you're still rocking with us in the chat. Let's see how fast it is. I want to make sure we're working on both YouTube or Twitch. Type a 1. And then we're going to do this. All right, we're starting to see those 1s in there. YouTube guys, let's see some 1s. I want to make sure you guys are live with us. All right, perfect. Thank you guys for that. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to JK5, who's going to ask a question about his card dropping tomorrow that I can actually see. It's such a cool card. It's the Cal Ripken one. I'm going to look at it as you ask this. I won't give it away, but go ahead and hit them with a trivia question based on tomorrow's card. So people are going to have to either have listened earlier or just guess. I'll read off the answers. JK5, you tell me when somebody has the correct answer. So go ahead and ask.
All right. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a really fun interview, man. Thank you so much for having me. I mentioned this earlier about the Cal Ripken Jr. card, And I said that the font for his name was the font on a very particular band's album cover.
They've already Black Sabbath guitar neck, head referencing Iron Man was Percy 30. But I think he was guessing early. Black Sabbath, Wu-Tang. It's Black Sabbath, correct?
Yes.
Black Sabbath. So we'll give it to, you know what? Percy's been rocking with us. Jizza73 got it early too. Percy, we're going to give you the print. Jizza, we're going to send you a card. We appreciate all of you guys for rocking with us. BJ McLean, you said Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. So you said the full thing. Is that which it was?
That's the answer.
So, do we want to go deep? This is up to you now. Somebody said Black Sabbath guitar head / head referencing Iron Man, or somebody said Black Sabbath Master of Reality a little later. Percy said he wasn't guessing early. I think we might have to give it to Percy.
It's up to you, man. It's all good.
We'll do it to Percy. You know what? We're feeling good. I think we might give away 2 prints. Let's do 2 prints. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out for you. So Percy and Triple G's Gaming. No, sorry. No, my bad. Not Triple G's Gaming. I'm going to hook you up with a card. But BJ McLean, Black Sabbath, Master of Reality for that. Just because we're feeling good today. Santa Skee feels good. We've been doing a lot of giveaways. We'll give you guys both. We'll find a way to get you the 2 prints for that. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. I think we've given away all of those cards that are there. We appreciate, again, everybody tuning in every week. And JK5, thank you so much for rocking with us and working through the difficulties and making the most of it. It still turned out dope. We still got everybody here rocking with us. They're all appreciative for you guys.
Thank you so much, everybody. DJ Skee, I love the vibes in the interview and the dialogue, man. Let's do it again soon.
We got
really
it.
Nice to connect with you.
We got to do it. First of many things. JK5 rocking with us. We're so appreciative. Thanks to all of you guys in the chat. We will be back again on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. Again, we might be switching this Twitch page, so monitor it. We're going to be launching a Card House one shortly. So stay tuned for that. Until now, we will keep doing them on Dash. Triple G's Gaming, don't worry. We're going to hook you up with a card. Sorry, I was reading the things in another order, but we got you hooked up, man. I appreciate you guys. And again, we're giving more prints away throughout this series. There's still a significant amount that we will be giving away to all of you. So stay tuned. We appreciate you all for rocking with us. I'm DJ Skee. Tomorrow we're back with more Snow's Giving with Discord. We've got performances to close it out from Cruella, from Arca, and from Toki Monster. And you never know when I'm going to do another VR DJ set, so make sure you give us a sub and a follow right here on Dash Radio. Signing out on this Thursday night, I'm DJ Skee. I appreciate you guys. Skee Sports Card Podcast live now. I'll see you guys next time. We out.